Hello, I'm Elif and this is a recap for episode 36 of the series One Love, 24 hours after Turkey and before dubbed for TV. Ibrahim says to Nusama, "Now we are alone." Nusama grabs a knife and approaches him, but Ibrahim pushes Nusama onto the bed. Nusama stands up and says, "You ruined my life. I won't let you do this with another woman." Their argument echoes into the adjacent room where Mary is present. She goes to Ibrahim's room and is shocked to see Nusama there. She hears Ibrahim saying to Nusama, "Thank God I'm on the first floor this time. I can't throw you off." Mary enters the room and confronts Ibrahim, saying, "I heard everything." Ibrahim denies doing anything, but Mary replies, "Don't lie. God knows what disaster you were planning to bring upon me." At that moment, Ertuğrul, who has been informed by Mary, arrives with his companions. He throws Ibrahim to the ground and forces him to apologize to Nusama and Mary. Then he hands him over to his companions. However, while on the way to the car, Ibrahim veers off course, escaping on foot. Mary and Ertuğrul thank Nusama for her brave act, and Ertuğrul tells Abdullah that he promised to take Nusama to his house. Nusama becomes worried. When Mary and Ertuğrul realize that Omid is not aware of Nusama's situation, they are very surprised. Pembe and Abdullah scold Nusama upon seeing her. Pembe says, "What does Mary have to do with you? Sit at home and cry there." Nusama gets angry and says, "Just because I managed to free myself, doesn't mean I shouldn't help others. If it were another woman instead of Mary, I would have gone after her too." Abdullah angrily asks her where her husband is and why he hasn't heard from him. When he learns that he has gone to perform, he becomes even angrier and shouts, his wife got into a fight with a stranger in the middle of the night, and he's at the bar playing the guitar. An hour later, Omid goes to Abdullah's house, and Abdullah scolds him severely, saying, "I don't trust you. You should live with us." Omid, feeling insulted, replies, "But we have our own home. I agreed to everything, but this is too much. I am not a puppet for your nightly entertainment." He stands up and asks Nusama to come with him. Abdullah says, "You can go." Nusama stays. Omid says, Nusama can make her own decisions. "We can't interfere." Nusama accompanies Omid, and Abdullah says, "If you step out that door with him, you'll disrespect me." Nusama retorts, "Dad. What kind of statement is that?" and leaves her father's house in distress. The next morning, Omid is still angry at Abdullah's behavior, saying, "It's like we're children. Maybe your father is used to bossing his children around, but he can't talk to me like this. If I lock you in a room, your family would think I'm a good husband." Omid even refuses to go to work. On the other side, Abdullah regrets his actions upon thinking about what Nusama did. When he finds out Omid didn't go to the company, he asks Yusuf to go after him and bring him to work. Omid is forced to accept. Pembe also cries at home, and Doa becomes upset upon seeing her and asks about her condition. Pembe recounts the events of last night. Doa says, "Remember, I also left my mother and came into this house. My mother was very upset too. But don't worry. Nusama is just as upset as me now, and her heart is with you." It's Kıvılcım's first day of the official recording, and Omar accompanies her to the studio. When they are preparing Kıvılcım for the performance, Omar becomes nervous seeing the close interactions of the team with her. Rüzgar's words about Kıvılcım becoming famous and changing her life make him sensitive, and he stares at Kıvılcım in silence throughout. Rüzgar notices his agitation. Nilay, suspicious about Pembe's distress, visits Olev's office under the pretext of placing an order for her son's birthday. She brings up the topic of Pembe and Abdullah's troubled relationship and speculates that they will soon get a divorce. Olev is taken aback and starts to think. After Nilay leaves, Olev calls Omid and asks him about the situation. Omid also thinks that Pembe and Abdullah's relationship has deteriorated due to their issues. Metehan overhears Omid's words and becomes upset. After Kıvılcım's work is finished, on the way back, Omar tells her, "I don't want you to do this. Someone will manipulate you, the noise, the cheers. You're not a TV star." Kıvılcım is shocked and says, "But you were the first one to support me." Omar replies, "You have your expertise, not in television." Fateh talks to Doa again, asking her to give him a chance to make amends. Doa becomes frustrated and says, "I need time. Don't pressure me." Fateh replies, "I'm satisfied that you're here. I won't say anything else." After Fateh leaves, Doa tells her daughter, "I endure everything for you. But there's nothing left." That night, Çayman, noticing her mother's distress, calls Metehan and mentions her concerns about Omar. Metehan says, "Let it be between us. Uncle Abdullah and Aunt's divorce is happening. That's why my dad is preoccupied with his thoughts." Olev goes to see Rüzgar at night, and they talk about their past memories. Shortly after, Ruzgar moves closer to kiss Olev. Olev steps back and angrily asks, "What are you doing?" Ruzgar says, "Don't we have a relationship?" Olev replies, "It's not real." Ruzgar suggests, "Are you in love with APU?" Olev stands up and says, "You're talking nonsense. All the girls around you don't want to sleep with you. Understand that." At night, Omar visits Metahon, and despite Kahan's usual jealousies, they bond and even play games together. Laman and Metahon have truly become close. Metahon tells his mother about Abdullah and Panbeh's separation, and Chayaman also conveys this in Olev's presence. Olev becomes convinced that what she heard was indeed true. The new servant who has come to the Onal's house is observant and decides to get closer to Mustafa, looking for an opportunity. Tomorrow morning, Kıvılcım asks Omar about his comments regarding his work, and Omar says, "I don't like it, but I won't interfere." "It's your decision." Kıvılcım asks, "Is there another issue? Your behavior keeps changing all the time." "I don't understand." Omar reassures him that there's no problem. Shortly after, Kahan calls Kıvılcım and tells him that Omar came to their house last night, and they spent a good time together. Kıvılcım is very surprised. At Omid's office, Fateh calls him into his room and says earnestly, "Our first concern was my sister's happiness, and now her safety is assured. My father is upset. My mother is distressed." Omid responds, "Didn't you know it was your duty to bring the family together?" Fateh retorts, "Has your tongue gotten longer, or is it just my feeling?" Omid says, "I need to give necessary explanations to your father. I don't see a need to respond to you." Fateh asserts, "If you upset my sister, you'll have to deal with me." Omar goes to the doctor, and the doctor asks if he has recently exhibited strange behavior or if his close ones feel that way. Omar reviews all the events but tells the doctor that no significant issue has arisen. The doctor says, "So this stress bubble isn't affecting your nerves? Let's proceed." Omar becomes worried. The ladies hold a 40th day memorial ceremony for Cemre, and the men of the family also come to the house, and everyone gathers. In a corner, Laman tells Panbeh, "Forgive my uncle. Don't separate from him." Panbeh is shocked. When Abdullah inquires about this conversation, it becomes clear that the issue originated from Nilay. After the guests leave, Abdullah, Panbeh, and Mustafa scold Nilay, who immediately starts crying and says, "Did you treat her this way when Doa was pregnant?" "I'm leaving." She storms out of the house, and Abdullah and Panbeh ask Mustafa not to follow her. A relative of Nilay, who works in the Onal's house, feels the danger when Nilay leaves and follows her to bring her back. He talks to Nilay for a while and says, "Where were you when this situation and wealth were available to you?" Nilay says, "When Doa left, everything changed. Everyone followed her." "But what about me?" The relative says, "They have the right to be angry. You lied about them. Now let's go back. Everyone thinks you're in the courtyard. Let them believe that." Nilay agrees. Solvi, the new servant, sees that there's no news of Nilay, and she enters Nilay and Mustafa's room, locking the door and lifting her veil. Mustafa is shocked. He wants to kick Solvi out when Nilay arrives, banging on the door and asking Mustafa to open it. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode.